Yeah.
All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for Conversation with Tim. A few weeks ago, I guess actually about a month ago tonight, I had the Spicers on with me. We talked about anxiety a little bit. And tonight we're going to talk about a different topic, about relationships. We're, kind of and we can talk about this on any given day, but during COVID season and all the just turmoil we have going on with our kids and school and jobs and just family tension, people being together so much more, all that kind of stuff. This would be a great topic for us to have tonight. And so we want to spend some time talking about the 5 love languages. So let me just remind those who maybe first time you're watching, we're just having a conversation. We're not trying to impress you. You're just getting the eavesdrop on our conversation. So this would be no different than if we were sitting at lunch one day at a Bella's restaurant or someplace having lunch, and then you're overhearing us at a table. That's how this goes. So we're just going to jump into it. Again, this is Wayne and this is Andrea. They are Acorn Counseling and Mediation Services. They have offices here at our church. And how long have you guys been in counseling? I know you individually. How long have you been together? How long has Acorn been an entity?
4 years.
4 years.
And we've been here 3.
3.
I think.
4 years. And so, how many years do you go back into? How long is your career?
Oh boy.
Mine started back in 1992.
1992. I keep forgetting that we're not as young as we look like we are. I'm sorry I brought that up, brother. And so when did yours start? Like last week?
Yes. No, it was 98, 99.
98, 99, something like
Yeah.
that. So anyway, so now they're Acorn Counseling. So if you need, matter of fact, let's just kind of talk about that for a second. I wasn't going to spend much time there, but I was going to say, so if you need some, to talk to someone, that they can contact you. But what are some of the, let's just say, what's your top 5 areas that you work with people in?
Probably anxiety, depression, marital issues, family as a whole issues. What else?
Anger management.
Yeah.
Dealing with anger. Because a lot of times the anger is unresolved issues and pain that they're dealing with, but it comes out as anger.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times that's, we always talk about anger being a defense mechanism, but it almost always comes down to some unresolved issue that just, out of that root system, it grows up, and it affects all those other areas,
Right.
So,
Exactly.
anyway, so if you would like to speak to someone as a counselor, they'd be more than happy to meet with you. Just reach out and contact them. Our topic tonight is love languages. If you're not familiar with that, I don't know exactly when the book was written, but a guy named Gary Chapman wrote a book back in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, but early 90s at least. And I remember in a church world going through it as a part of a discipleship class. And it was called The 5 Love Languages. And it was really kind of, at the time, I think it was very simple. It's a very simple process. When you hear us talk about it, you'd be like, oh, that sounds kind of, everybody should know that. But it was kind of profound as well. And today they've sold over 13 million copies of the book, and so it's been well used. And I'll bring this back up again as we go. But 2 things. One is, if you have questions, please ask the questions. We'll try to answer those questions as they come in. Number 2 is, if you're not sure what your love language is, even as we describe them, there's a test you can take, very simple test, very easy to do, and go to 5 is in the number 5, lovelanguages.com. And there'll be a place where it says test, and you click that, and they'll give you some options, and it's a very simple test. They don't ask anything from you. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. And so that'll help you kind of see what your love language is. You can have your friend or your spouse or your children take it. If you're not married, there's a test for singles. So you can take those kind of tests and kind of see what your love language is and help you kind of understand yourself and understand some of the people you live with. Let me just kind of give the 5 love languages to you, and then we'll just start discussing from a general sense down through. The 5 love languages are physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts. Those are the 5 love languages. Okay, so and this is really kind of in Andrea's wheelhouse. It's kind of something she's more passionate about. Not that Wayne isn't passionate about his wife's love language.
Because he is a lot.
Wink,
She does
wink.
such a great job.
She does a great job with anyways. Anyway, so Andrew, what is it that kind of drew you into this subject area?
Well, obviously, I love working with people and just kind of understanding how people work, and it just really made sense about, how you can be with somebody even, 40, 50 years, and, we each think that we're expressing love, and then the other person will be like, well, they don't love me, or whatever, and then, but it's really, that comes down to communication, and, I think in a lot of ways it was life changing for me. I think a lot of times we as people just kind of we see things from our point of view, and this kind of helps us maybe see things differently.
Okay, so how did you discover? Was it a book you just picked off a shelf? Was it what conference you went to? What happened?
We went to a conference many moons ago, it seems, in Wheaton with Gary Chapman, and he went through.
Actually, with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we learned a lot. I think Wayne went because I wanted to go.
And I wanted to be supportive.
Yeah. But I think he learned some things too, because as he's showing, mine is words of affirmation, and so he's good at giving me that. So.
Okay, so let's just say not so much in one of the specific of the 5 languages, but just overall, what was the main takeaway? Whether it's that one conference that you did that you walked away from, or as you've kind of used this in your counseling and your own marriage and stuff, what would you just say is kind of the main takeaway or takeaways maybe from?
Yeah. So I would say, and I say this in counseling, it's the little things, right? So it's the day-to-day things that we do, things that we say. It's not so much the grand gestures. So I kind of liken it to tending a garden. So with any relationship, you have to tend that garden, you have to weed it, you have to take care of it in order for it to flourish. Same thing for relationships. And if you neglect it, if you just go about your business and you don't do those little things every day, weeds grow, dysfunction happens, conflict happens, and before you know it, it's 5-10 years down the road, and where people look back and just kind of wonder what happened to their marriage.
And it's not so much that you're growing apart intentionally, but you have job, you're raising kids, all those pieces are in play, and you kind of forget to neglect to take care of the important thing of the marriage.
And especially after you start having kids,
Yes.
just husband and wife, and if you want to wake up at 2:00 in the morning and run to Denny's, you can, and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden you start having kids and jobs and deadlines and pressure, and life's happening, and bills got to be paid, and just a lot of moving parts, and it's pretty easy for that to kind of take place. I don't think it's uncommon that a lot of people have experienced that, and then as kids get older, they have to kind of reinvent a relationship many times, because it's just different than it used to be. They had so many distractions. There's just
So much going on.
we had a ball game every night,
Yep.
or we had whatever it was. We always had something going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's just us again. Hi, my name's Tim. What's yours?
Yeah.
It's that kind of
Yep.
it's that kind of situation. So, all right. So let's kind of talk about each. Let's just kind of start to the list, and so the first one, let's say, is words of affirmation. So just kind of give me a little bit of explain to people what that might be.
So, it's things like, thank you so much for doing this, or you're beautiful, or I noticed that you did this, or I really appreciate it when you do that. But really those things that maybe we think in our head, but we maybe think the other person just knows or whatever. But it's really making that effort to actually say them out loud to that person, to let them know that you see them and you care for them.
So is what makes it a love language, as opposed to, like, if there's 5 areas, and if someone has if words of affirmation is their language, what it really means is it doesn't mean they don't like receiving a gift or physical touch. It just means that's what means the most to them. Of the five languages, I think I can't remember if it's I think receiving gifts or acts of service one's my lowest one. Like I think it's gifts, whatever it is. The point is, it doesn't mean a lot to me. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. I clearly appreciate that when somebody does something, but it's like it doesn't really register with me. Where someone else, that'd be like really a big deal to them. So some people are starving, or whatever that word is. What they're craving is someone to affirm them. Okay. Next one's quality time.
Yeah, so this one can be especially hard, well, except for if you're quarantined at home with your loved one. Maybe have lots
season,
of quality
right?
time,
Yeah.
maybe too much. But it's really taking, again, it's those little things. Like, it doesn't have to always be a weekend away or a night away. Sometimes it's, 15 minutes in the morning before the kids get up, or, 20 minutes before bed to just kind of talk about your day.
Making a date night and actually putting it on the calendar, because if you don't, we make the promise but we don't keep it, and if we don't bother to put it down, we're showing that respect and following through with it.
Yeah.
That's important.
And quality time, does that mean quantity of time, or does it really mean kind of focused one-on-one time?
Focused one-on-one time.
Okay, so it doesn't mean just, hey, we went to the movies and we did a bunch of stuff together and we spent all day together. It's really that we were together.
Right.
And focus on that person.
Putting that phone down, putting the
Exactly.
distractions down. We can be juggling a million things and not paying attention. And we need to stop that. We quit the juggling, and we're actually that one-on-one.
Yeah, that's in our culture, and not just happened this last week, but over the last several years, the phone thing's become a real problem. I mean, it's nothing to go to a restaurant and see a young couple sitting across the table each other. I mean, like teenagers or college age students dating, okay, and they're sitting across the table from each other, and both of them are on their phones doing stuff.
Right.
I always make a joke on what they're texting each other back and forth,
Yeah.
but they're not really together.
Right.
They're just whatever. So, and I use time with people now, and so they'll wear, like say, an Apple Watch or whatever, and they'll be sitting there talking to you, and they do this. They're not seeing what time it is. They're reading a text message. Might as well have their phone out.
Right.
Same thing, So I can see where if quality time was the issue, and I'm sitting here having a conversation with you, and you keep looking at your watch, because I know you're reading a text message, that's going to irritate me. I can see that. So,
Right.
Okay. The next one is receiving gifts. Seems kind of, we all like receiving gifts, I think. But.
Right. But I'm like you, like that's, I like it, but it's not my top one for sure. But it doesn't always mean spending money. Maybe it's, picking some wildflowers, or making a special dinner, or maybe it is buying something. But it's kind of taking the time out to think, okay, my partner likes this, loves this, and I'm going to try to make this happen for them.
And it doesn't necessarily be big. It can be small too, right?
Right.
So.
Well, I remember like making a Christmas card for you, or a birthday card, where the kids are doing that, especially when we're really broke. Taking that time, and it means actually something. I go out and spend $7 on a Hallmark card, but we're spending that time, with the kids, putting that together to make her a card. That's more important. That's something that means something.
And speaking of Hallmark cards, my wife's birthday's coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. We do like birthday week at my house. She gets multiple cards. I need a second job to pay for the cards. They're getting so expensive these days. But,
They are getting crazy.
and I'm glad we got Sullivan's because they have lots of cards, and they see me come in, they all get laughing and know what's up. They know something.
It's
Oh, is
birthday
it that
week.
time of year? I got all stacking cards like this. But that's the way we roll at my house. And, that's what we do. All right, so the next one would be acts of service. What would that be?
So, I don't do a good job taking care of my car. So maybe for him, maybe it's taking my car to the car wash, cleaning it out for me.
Yeah.
Taking the trash out, fixing dinner and cleaning up so I don't have, just anything that maybe I wouldn't do or I don't like to do, and that the other, he would, or your partner would kind of take care of that for you.
And that one there tends to be more, all of them are important to me, but that is one of the more important ones, that for me at least, because I like to be able to come home and not have to pick up the house when I get home, you know, have it halfway straightened up, and or be able to go into the bathroom and, you know, see the towels on the towel rack. I know it seems silly, but you know, after being busy all day, it's something you don't want to take time to do, and it just makes you feel appreciated.
Yeah, feel loved.
Both
Yeah.
love and appreciate
Feel the
both.
love.
Yeah.
Look at you. And I, you know, as I was kind of thinking about, you know, that it's also things, you know, how in all of our families, I'm assuming we have routines, okay, things we normally do, and I think as I was thinking about it, because I don't have this as my thing, but I think that if a person's normal routine is something, and especially when they're busy, when they're stressed, when there's stuff going on, and then you do that thing for them, I think that probably falls in that kind of category,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not necessarily a big thing. It's a routine. It's picking up that she normally does the laundry, but you knew what she was going through and you did the laundry for her, and she knows you don't want to do the laundry or whatever it is. It's that kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's just knowing that person appreciates when they're being served in some way, and it's probably some trivial small thing that would be their normal routine. I think most of the time it probably is their normal routine, you know, and then when you do something for them, it takes pressure off of them or gives them extra time in their day or whatever it is. The fifth one was physical touch.
Yeah, so that doesn't always mean, you
The
know,
bedroom.
in the bedroom. It can
What?
mean,
Oh, what a disappointment.
you know, holding hands, sitting next to each other, hugging each other, just, you know, a quick kiss in the morning. Just, again, just the little things, really. It doesn't.
Being attentive.
Yeah.
This would be my personal, you know, if I did the test, my personal for, you know, for pretty high. The second one is words of affirmation, but the first one would be physical touch. And I know sometimes at night, particularly, so I'm a snuggler. My wife is not, sweetheart. She's not a snuggler, and she is a snuggler. I mean, she's cold. I've been asleep for a while. She got in bed freezing, and then she's going to want to snuggle up. That's when she wants to snuggle. Now, if I get in bed, she's been asleep already, and I try to snuggle up, well, it don't work out that way. Okay, but anyway, I don't feel loved. Let's put it that way. But I know sometimes at night. By the way, we might need some marriage counseling pretty soon. Sorry, baby. I know that sometimes at night I just need to. We have a king size bed, okay, and so, you know, it don't matter how we start off sleeping, you know, you just kind of separate. And sometimes I need to, in the middle of the night, I need to get my foot out. So I don't know if I'm laying angled wise or not, but I got my foot way over there to make sure I can touch her. And I'm reaching out and finding it. Where's it at? And my leg, if my foot's across her foot or my leg across her leg or whatever it is, I'm good. But it's like I need that, you know, for whatever reason it is, you know. So, you know, I guess that's how God made me.
That's right.
Sweetheart. That's how God made me. That's how God made me. So, okay, so those are the five, in a general sense, those are the five areas.
Yes.
Let me ask the question this way. How, and I haven't read the book in decades now, but how I remember the book, it's really written from, you know, what is my love language? What is your love language? And so I should do things for you based on your love language. You should do things for me based on my love language. Okay. But does it not also apply to, like, and I don't know how it correlates exactly, but if I love to give gifts, and you may not have, your love language might not be receiving gifts, but I want to give you gifts, right? Is that a fair correlation, or is that not how it works at all?
So I guess, you know, being aware of your partner so that you can talk that language. So if I speak German and he speaks French, we need to kind of figure out a way to communicate. So either I need to speak French or he needs to speak German, but we need to be speaking the same language. So that's fine. I mean, that's the most common thing. We express love the way we want to be loved.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So we tend to express it the way we
Exactly.
want to receive it. Okay.
Yeah. And so even though it's okay to do that, I think it's important for the partner to realize that that's the intent behind it and be appreciative of that. I think it'll go a long way for your relationship if you then also realize, okay, I need to be mindful of my partner and how he or she feels and where they're coming from and how they need to get their love tank filled.
Okay, so as we're talking, let me remind you one more time, all you gotta do is type a question into the comment section, and Adam will show that to us on the screen, and we'll try to get to those questions if you have some specific questions, or you just wanna, make them a confusing question and see if we can stump them. All right, so you can ask any question you want to ask. We'll see if we can answer that. All right, so you mentioned fill the tank. Let's talk about that for a little bit. So is that in his book, or is that I made that up in my own head?
No, it's in his book.
Okay, so
Sorry.
it's
Can't take credit for
right.
that. Sorry.
So you know how that goes. It's like things that there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so there's all these things that I have kind of in me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they come from sometimes, but I could talk about a tank and filling it up and and it getting empty and all that kind of stuff. I don't know where it came from. So that's where it came out of his book.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go then.
There you go.
So let's kind of have a conversation about that. So what kind of things would drain a tank?
Probably not speaking your partner's love language would drain their tank. But then also just arguments, negative comments, things that kind of we do or say that harm our relationship. So that can, like I said, that could be a little negative dig all the way to, an affair or anywhere in between, really.
Or the cold shoulder, or
Yes.
just slamming doors and walking away, or
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things can be it. So that the idea is, and it could just not be about relationship. It could just be life, right? I mean, it could just not be like stress at work or
Mm-hmm.
Working 40 hours
You
a
know.
week, and then 2 hours a day on the road, and
all that
trying
stuff,
to-
right?
Yeah.
trying to e-learn or trying to homeschool or trying to manage, in-person school or whatever. There's a lot of things that probably just drain us.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we don't think about this, but remember how many areas of a life there are. It's not like you are doing great in one area and 4 areas are really weak. They're all kind of functioning
Exactly.
together, right?
Yep.
So, if you're really stressed out or you're uptight or you're frustrated at whatever's getting drained someplace, I think it affects everything. So then how would a person go about building, kind of refilling a tank up for somebody?
To learn their love language, and start speaking it. But then kind of the rule is 1 criticism to 10 positive comments. So, if we're constantly saying negative things and just being critical of our partner, that's draining. And if we're not doing things, and like I said, it's usually about 10-to-1 ratio to kind of level it out, then you're not going to be filling their tank if the majority of the time all you're doing is being critical.
And sarcasm would be an example of that. Where I think I'm joking or just saying something what I think is funny is hurtful, and once I say it, I can't unring the bell.
Yeah.
But I've said something, or maybe I was trying to get a dig in there, and it wasn't being mature about it. So that was one of the things that we tried to avoid, is the sarcasm.
Okay. So what are some of the issues that kind of come out if a person's tank is being drained in a relationship, okay, whether because of the relationship or because of work or what it's because of life, okay, what are some of the things that would come out of that? What would be some of the issues that may arise out of running on empty, so to speak?
So increased conflict, I would say increased kind of living each in your own world. So, and technology, of course, helps us do that, where we just kind of go off into our own little space. And even though we need to take responsibility for our own choices and behavior, this sometimes Dr. Chapman calls it kind of water cooler talk. So those conversations that start off innocent can quickly become more than that, and can lead to affairs. So.
Well, if you stop and think about it, you spend half your working day at your job, so you are more inclined to start sharing, I wouldn't say intimate things, but more personal things with your coworkers that could lead to that next step. And it's not intentional always, but it takes you off guard, and you go home and there's that conflict going on at home, and of course you look forward to going back to work the next day because it is easier.
Because that's where you're getting your tank filled.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that should probably go for a lot of things. Whether it becomes a person being a workaholic,
Mm-hmm.
or just having their hobby they do. Hunting, fishing, golfing. Whatever, bird watching, whatever it happens to be, just being out and away, doing their thing. Okay. So, kind of want to we kind of broaden this out a little because we talk a lot about relationships. So does the love languages apply to all relationships? And I think I know the answer, obviously, but at least in my opinion, I know the answer. And then after we have that, kind of talk about that, let's talk about how it relates to children, parents, and children as well. Okay, so would you say a love language, understanding love languages and how to apply love languages affects all relationships?
Yes.
Yep, you told me so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne's just agreed with her. Yes, Andrea said so. So therefore, it's a fact. All right, so like
And you're always right.
That's right.
because we talk about work and even unhealthy, but it could also be healthy relationships at work, right? People feeling valued, or what it may be. People at the grocery store. When you're going through a line, I was thinking about, just how you treat a cashier in a line, or how it's not so much you're trying to love them per se, right? But, how you treat them, there's, those things matter,
right?
As I was saying about, there's all kinds of things. Your kid's little league baseball coach, or, the next door neighbor, or the elderly lady down the street, or I can just say a lot of applications for various kinds of relationships, and how whether you are actively recognizing what their love language is, or you just recognize there is love languages, and there's therefore certain things you have to do to people to make them feel valued, appreciated, words like that. So let's talk about the kids thing. How does that relate to like parents and children?
So kids function just like adults do when it comes to this. There's some kids that really need that quality time with their parents, either one or both of them, and they really thrive off that. And so time with them, going to lunch and having lunch with them, or just doing. He used to do daddy-daughter date nights with our daughter, just to kind of have that kind of one-on-one time. And some kids thrive on that. Other kids thrive on, the hugs and just, and that physical touch, laying with them when they, go to bed at night, or kissing them on their cheek or whatever.
Remember I used to send notes in their lunch boxes, that way when they open their lunch, they'd see that note from me or from Andrea, or Andrea put a note on the bathroom mirror before she left for work. And the kids would get up and see that, and it would make them feel validated and feel loved.
And that could, again, it goes back to some kids would love that, and other kids are kind of like, well, whatever, because to them it doesn't make that much of a difference. But
Everybody might appreciate something, but for some kids that they have their thing. They have one of those 5 things is their thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So what would you say to a young couple, or not so much young in age even, but just somebody early in a relationship, and if you were just going to give them some advice that, hey, we got this new relationship started, and we're pretty serious about this relationship, what kind of advice would you just give them up front? And by the way, I'm going to call because I got this little scratch in my throat, but it's not the Rona. I promise you, this is not the Rona. This is my allergies are kicking in. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so little things often, and I think Wayne said this earlier, just being intentional. So being intentional about putting your phone away and really being present with the person in front of you. Being aware of their love language and intentionally doing things to meet that and fill their love tank. But if you're just kind of riding the emotions, especially young love, that only lasts for so long. And so if you kind of don't build your relationship on that firm foundation, then, sometimes that those feelings dissipate over time when you start working or kids or whatever. So I would say little things often.
I would say a good example with somebody I've worked with in the past is, was an older couple that had a kind of a whirlwind first year, and then they started to realize they really didn't know who they were. They were enjoying traveling and doing things together, and the new adventures, because they had lived such a single life for such a long time, but they weren't really communicating. They were just living that fast-paced enjoyment, and come to find out, they weren't suited for each other.
And really being curious, I think, about the other person. So asking questions about, who do you love in your family? Which family member do you have the most conflict with? What holiday is the most important to you? But just really caring enough to ask those questions to really get to know that person.
Okay. Well, let's go to the other end. What would you say to a couple that's deep into their relationship, been together for, decades, and they're kind of waking up to this, like, what? There's this thing called love language? What in the world? What kind of advice would you give them?
So, take the quiz, find out what your love language is, and then start. I'm going to go back to the garden. My clients get sick of me saying that, but, start tending that garden. So start weeding it. Start, figuring out the things that are good that make your relationship work, and work on decreasing those things that you do to make your relationship not so good.
Well, the other thing is, as we do grow, that sometimes that these may change. We're not, just because I took the test, 2 years ago and this is where I'm at, don't mean in a few more years that as we've built our relationship and we've shared other experiences, that my love language might change.
Oh, I didn't know that. So your love language can change.
Yep.
I did not know that.
So, and
Because
usually
as we-
people do, I would say that probably most people have like two that they're really strong in. They might kind of interchange a little bit. And, life experience can change us all way, make us way different people than what we were before. So.
Yeah, I think I would just say, because I would agree that I think everybody probably has the two of the five, they're higher in two, and kind of a couple in the middle, and there's one probably really low. It'd be my guess for most people. And I did look up the like which is the most common love language, and they're all like between 18% of the people was the lowest one, and 22 or 23% of the people was the highest one. So they're all basically a fifth of this. Like they're pretty well divided up. It's not like there's some huge discrepancy in that. But I can see how there's a. So I've already said that physical touch is my love language, but I don't have any need to reach over and touch you right now, or you. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So I don't feel like I need to. Okay, I need to reach out and put my foot over here and touch Wayne real fast. I don't feel that. So
that's a different show.
Right, that's a different show we'll have, conversations with Tim. But it's like so. But so in a different relationship, my love language in that relationship would be different. So a word of affirmation means a lot more for me in those kind of relationships than a stranger walking up and touching me. I'd be like, well, what's up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Where I want my wife, I just want to be close. I don't care if she talks to me. Just sit there and be quiet if you want to, but touch me. Let me know you're there. I don't know why. That's why I am. So, so I could see how you could have your love language should actually flip. Like here's how I am in my home, and here's who I am in my workplace or in other environments. Maybe. Okay. Okay. So, what about the relationship that's in trouble? They're struggling. A lot of I don't mean like we're talking about the counseling and we need to dig them out of this big hole. That may be true. But I'm just saying from a love language perspective, if we're just going to kind of simplify things. They're struggling understanding each other. What kind of advice would you give them?
Probably to start doing those things that speak to them, and not to do them in order to get something back. To do it simply because you love that person and you want them to know that you love and care about them. Because I think sometimes we get in trouble if we're doing it because we want it returned. It needs to be
And
more.
that's more plastic or more fake. It's not
Mhm.
being done for an altruistic reason.
Yeah.
We're doing it because we're trying to get a gain out of it.
Right.
We do want to keep a good marriage and, you know, stay healthy, but if I'm doing it just to please you and really not doing it because I care about you,
Mhm.
just trying to get you to change your attitude doesn't mean anything.
They don't respond as the same
Right.
way. So sometimes you have to do the same thing over and over and over again to
Right.
help somebody, especially if there's been some distrust built up.
Right.
So like, oh, you're just doing that because of whatever it is,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to
Biggest thing is quit digging the hole.
quit
Yeah.
digging the hole.
Yeah.
Quit digging the hole.
Yeah.
And that's always the first step of getting out of a hole, isn't it?
Yes.
Stop digging.
Yeah.
Stop digging. So I I don't know that understanding love languages fixes things. You know, but the reality is, if you do think about the other person, and you can do things for them without feeling like you need something in return. Because if you can't do that, to me, that says more about you than
Right.
about, because it's like, I don't know what word I call that. Just I'll use the word immaturity. And okay, I'm gonna do something nice for you. I didn't get the response I wanted, therefore I want to make sure you know I did something nice for you, and I'm upset that you didn't give me a response.
Right.
So that just kind of uncovers the lack of maturity in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we just need to decide that we're going to value other people.
Right.
How do you want somebody to treat I talk to people in dating relationships all the time about that we should treat people the way we want somebody to treat our daughter or our son, or our mom, our sister, whatever. It's like it's just how we treat people. A lot of times we just devalue people. Some of us, it's easy to say harsh words, words that hurt people, and then we know their love language is, buying gifts for them, so we give a bunch of gifts because we're trying to make up for
Right.
we damage them, we hurt them with our words, So, but I do believe that, at a simple level, I think understanding love languages, understanding how that everybody has something they appreciate more than others.
Mm-hmm.
I think that stuff goes a long ways with just building relationships across the board. Your child doesn't always want you to buy them something. Sometimes they need time with you.
Right.
But sometimes, especially with parents who travel a lot, I'm sure a kid loves it when they come home and they brought some kind of, whenever they're out and about, because it's like, I know he or she was thinking about me when they were out wherever they were,
Right.
and they brought me home some little thing. I'm sure that's a big deal, and so it's just trying to figure out that person and caring enough to know what is it they really appreciate, and maybe how to value that in them. And I think a lot of relationships can be healed if we just kind of put the other person first and give some space for them to grow, and give ourselves release the expectations that we have with people.
Right.
I'm going to do this for you because I know I'm supposed to. But my expectation is you respond back.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes we don't respond back very
Right.
well.
Right.
So
I think going back just a little bit about giving gifts, we're not trying to buy their love. And I think that we kind of get caught up into that, if I give you that ring or give you that new car, that you're going to love me more, when actually they just needed to spend more time together. So they're doing it out of guilt, or mom and dad work too many hours, so give little Johnny something, but they never actually get to know who he is. So
Right.
they're buying his love, and they're not really gaining anything because there's no reward.
right.
It may be a physical thing, but it's not meeting his emotional needs.
Yeah. It's really about letting that person know that you see them as who they are, good, bad, otherwise.
But you value them as a person.
And that you value them for whatever it is they are. All of you, not just a part of who we are, but the whole package.
So I think my wife, one of her love languages would be to receive gifts, right? But I remember when we was first married, she'd be like, bring me back something. I'm like, what? And it wasn't that I cared about bringing her back something. It's like I have to think of something. You know, I don't care. That's even harder on me. Tell me exactly
Tell me
what to
what you
do.
want,
And,
yeah.
and I remember her saying things like, "Oh, just a rock will be fine." Like, and she wasn't kidding. Just a rock would be fine.
Yeah.
And I think I brought home a rock more than one time. You know what I mean? But I mean, she really meant just a rock, just whatever, just anything. And I'm thinking that seems like the dumbest idea in the world. I mean, why would I bring home a rock? You know, and so some of it's just trying to figure, just understand how people are, and that for that's why we have birthday week. And she gets a bunch of cards on her birthday week. If anybody wants to give to the Kathy Rhoda's birthday card fund, just send your money to me and do it in the next couple of weeks because I got to get after it here pretty soon. So her birthday is September 14th, and the week before that, the full 7 days before that, is all
Kathy's
things Kathy.
week.
That's
Yeah.
right, Kathy's birthday week. And I think we're headed toward birthday month, and she just keeps expanding things on me. That's just the way she is,
Aw.
and that so. All right, so kind of in a wrap-up mindset, anything else you guys want to share about love languages or any of those kind of topics that you think would be helpful for people listening to us tonight?
I just think when you do things or say things, to let the other person know that you care about them, love them, respect them. I mean, when we feel love, that's freedom, right? So that gives us, then we're comfortable to be who we are and do the things we're supposed to be doing. And so I just think it's really important to know kind of yes, feeling loved is important, but it's also maybe a little bit more about that. It's really about being who we're meant to be.
Okay.
Being safe.
Yeah.
Being safe in your house, being safe with your loved one. And that sounds kind of corny, but being able to let your guard down and not have to be fake. Being able to express who you are at that moment and being able to share that intimate moment and the thoughts that are going through your head.
And
Okay.
small things often.
Small things often. And she
Okay.
said that and looked right at you. I might all write that down. Small things often, Wayne. If you guys see Wayne at the grocery store someplace, just say small things often.
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Yeah, my wife and I would be like, "Hey, can you bring me home a Diet Coke?" Like, okay. So anyway, so thank you for being with us tonight. Let me remind you, to take the test to find out what your love language is, you can go to the number 5 lovelanguages.com. 5lovelanguages.com, but not spelled out 5, the number 5. And Acorn Counseling and Mediation, that's on Facebook too, right?
Yes.
So you can search them as individuals, or you can search Acorn Counseling and Mediation, and you can find their contact information. And they office here at Cross Church, and they'd be more than happy to meet with you and help you through whatever life struggle you'd like to talk about. So thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll be with you next week with another guest. Thank you.
Thank you.